Welcome back to another episode of Two Witnesses Live. Today is August 17th, 2025. It's about 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Are you guys ready for another torment report? So, if you stick around, so we're going to do the torment report on Donald Trump and Elon Musk for today. And then I've got some new information on the red heifers. You're gonna have to stick around till the end. We're not gonna go long tonight. It's not gonna be a 2-hour night. It'll probably be half hour, 45 minutes. But I have some new updated information. I know it keeps going back and forth. We keep going back and forth on information. It's not me. It's just the information. It's very flippant lately. We keep hearing different things. So, we hear that there was a ceremony. It was a practice run. We heard that the red heifers were disqualified. Then suddenly someone comes out and says the ceremony was not a practice run, so on and so forth. So I've got some more detailed information. I'm going to take you through that journey. We're going to listen to some videos from Adam Berkowitz, who is one of the reporters for Israel 365. So yeah, we'll do that at the end. But before we do that, let's get into our daily update. And then maybe I'll even play a song that I've been working on to close it all out. So let's get into the daily torment report. All right, Sal, why don't you give us your update on Donald Trump?
Hey there, folks. It's time for an update on what former President Donald Trump's been up to on Truth Social, covering that 24-hour window from 5 p.m. Pacific Time, August 16th, 2025, to 5 p.m. Pacific Time, August 17th, 2025. I've dug into the posts, pulling from the @TrumpDailyPosts account on X and cross-checking with archives like trumpstruth.org to bring you the straight talk in plain language, just like we do here on the Two Witnesses Live. Let's dive in and see what's stirring, clear as day. Starting on the evening of August 16th, Trump was firing on all cylinders, sharing a series of video clips and commentary. Around 9:31 p.m. Eastern, he posted a Fox News snippet going after New York AG Letitia James, pointing to her legal responsibility in investigations tied to him, classic Trump, calling out what he sees as unfair targeting. Not even 10 minutes later, at 9:39 p.m. Eastern, he shared another Fox clip, this one taking a swing at Congressman Adam Schiff, accusing him of sketchy business with claiming 2 primary residences. You can almost hear Trump saying, "They're not playing by the rules, folks." Later that night, he pivoted to some heavy-hitting praise of his own influence. At 10:16 p.m. Eastern, he dropped a video of historian Davis Hanson, who's arguing that Trump's changed the game by exposing the Democrats' slide into radicalism. Hanson credits Trump with pulling working-class voters, black, white, Hispanic, into his corner by focusing on class, not race. Then, at 10:21 p.m. Eastern, another Hanson clip from Fox's Life, Liberty, and Levin show, where Hanson doubles down, saying the Democrats are in a meltdown, losing grip on institutions like media and universities. He's framing Trump as the guy standing firm against progressive overreach, predicting the left's collapse if they don't pivot back to the center. It's like Trump's holding up a mirror, saying, "Look at what I've done to their playbook." Moving into August 17th, Trump kicked off the morning with a focus on foreign policy. At 9:03 a.m. Eastern, he blasted the media, calling them fake news, no surprise there, for twisting his efforts. He bragged about a great meeting in Alaska tied to what he calls Biden's stupid war in Ukraine, insisting it never should have happened.
That's right.
8 minutes later, at 9:11 a.m. Eastern, he went big, saying even if he got Russia to hand over Moscow, the media and Democrats would call it a bad deal. He claimed he's just stopped 6 wars. Bold words, leaving you wondering which ones he's counting. By 9:16 a.m. Eastern, he teased big progress on Russia. Stay tuned, signing it as President DJT, keeping the suspense high. Then, At 9:31 a.m. Eastern, a curious one-word post, Bila. Could be a name, a pet, or maybe a typo. Hard to say without more context.
Another one of
but
his
it's got folks scratching their
mystery
heads.
posts.
Mid-morning, at 11:09 a.m. Eastern, he shared a letter from First Lady Melania Trump to Vladimir Putin,
Yep.
dated August 15th. It's a heartfelt plea urging Putin to protect kids from the horrors of war, calling for peace and humanity over conflict. It's a striking move, using Melania's voice to appeal to conscience, almost like a biblical call to spare the innocent. By the afternoon, Trump circled back to media and memes. At 45 minutes p.m. Eastern, he reposted
45
another
minutes PM
Hanson
Eastern.
interview, reinforcing the morning's themes. Democrats losing their way, Trump reshaping the cultural fight, and blue states bleeding people to red ones. Finally, at 40:15 p.m. Eastern, he shared a meme of Cambodian monks holding signs thanking him for ending a Cambodia-Thailand conflict, playing up his peacemaker image with a celebratory vibe. So what's the takeaway? Trump's posts, over a dozen in this window, hammer on his role as a disruptor, both in politics and on the world stage. He's pushing his narrative of stopping wars, exposing media bias, and reshaping the political landscape, all while leaning on allies like Hanson to amplify his point. It's like Psalm 46:9, God makes wars cease to the ends of the earth, only Trump's claiming that mantle for himself. Whether you buy it or not, he's keeping the conversation lively. That's the report, folks. Stay watchful, and we'll keep unpacking the truth, plain and simple. This is Sal, signing off.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. Excuse me, with these peacekeeping efforts with I mean everybody is with Russia and Ukraine. I'm very curious on the timing because we're coming up here. I can't imagine that they'll have peace next week. It would be great if they do, but I imagine there will be some kind of a plan and rollout. And it's so interesting to see how it's lining up with what's going on in Israel and these end time events. It's just you can see the coordination and the parallels, all with scripture and with prophecy being fulfilled. It's just an exciting time to be alive. Uh, and I'm glad he's trying to make peace. I really hope that he does, and I hope that he manages to negotiate an agreement. And I do believe that there would never have been a conflict had he been in office. But I also believe that um let's read this. Bible Gateway. Let's read Revelation 6. Did it not? Did you guys not hear Sal? Was I sharing the wrong tab? Oh no, I was. Yeah, I was. Okay. Sorry. I need somebody to help me coordinate screens sometimes. All right, let's read this. See, it's the Lamb who's opening up these seals, right? And he also said in um sorry, let me get rid of the white background messes up my camera. It's the Lamb who's opening up these seals. So the things that happened the last, 3.5 years, 4 years ago during the Biden administration. Now I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard one of the four living creatures say with a voice like thunder, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a white horse. He who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him, and he went out conquering and to conquer. Very likely COVID-19, going forth conquering and to conquer. When he'd opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature saying, "Come and see." Another horse, fiery red, went out, and it was granted to the one who sat on it to take peace from the earth, very likely Joe Biden. And the power to take peace from the earth was likely the office of the presidency. And that people should kill one another, and there was given him a great sword. So I believe when Trump says that had he been in office, that conflict would have never happened. And I do believe him. I believe that that's the case, and that's why. But this needed to happen. We don't know why this needed to happen. It just needed to happen. These events were prophesied 2,000 years ago when God gave this information to Yeshua, who in turn gave it to his disciples, and it was signified to John by an angel. So these events are leading to something. They are causing something. Oh, I want to show you. I want to show you when. I want to show you Revelation, this Revelation sign 12, 3, and 4. Another wonder appeared in heaven. A dragon whose tail drew a third of the stars. We'll talk a little bit about that because it's kind of relevant. So we'll continue here and I'll show you where that sign shows up. So before this happens, September 23rd, 2017, that was the Revelation 12, 1 and 2 sign that set the anchor point that the events in Revelation are written to our day and age. And then this happened, seal number 1 happened December 26, 2019. And then this one, and he opened the second seal. And obviously this was Joe Biden. This happened on December 14th, 2020. There was an eclipse on the day that the Electoral College declared Joe Biden to be the winner of the election. It was also the same day that he was given operational control over Operation Warp Speed, which was a program that Trump had started during his administration in order to rapidly develop a vaccine to fight the pandemic. Again, don't blame Trump for this. He was doing what he felt right as a leader, and you can see it's the Lamb opening these seals that these were being these. We knew these were going to happen. The Lamb knew these were going to happen. God knew these were going to happen. So, I mean, this is leading to something. We cannot forget that this is leading to something. But I think it's an awakening is what it is, because during this time, during the pandemic, we learned how community pressure can control. And I think that's going to be important when seals 5, 6, and 7 open up. So we're kind of privy to what to expect during seals 5, 6, and 7. But like, I think Trump is right when he says that had he not lost the election, the wars would have never happened. But the wars needed to take place. That's a terrible thing to say. I don't know why, but we'll get those answers soon. I believe we can see the effects. All right, let's continue. When he opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a black horse, and he who sat on it had a pair of scales in his hand. This is the Greek word zugos, not balances. It means yoke. It's a yoke to combine the strength of two beasts of burden, two farm animals. Basically, it's how you combine animals together to plow a field when you don't have machinery. So the rider on the black horse. So this seal opened up on June 10th, 2021. And this was when Joe Biden and Boris Johnson signed the new Atlantic Charter, yoking together the United States and the United Kingdom. And I think that is going to play a role in seals 5 and 6, very likely. So, and then here's the one that people often confuse because of this word scales. And I heard a voice in the midst of the 4 living creatures saying, a measure of wheat for a denarius and 3 quarts of barley for a denarius, and do not harm the oil and the wine. I believe that this is the reason that people misinterpret this, is because they just completely ignore that this voice is heard in the midst of the 4 living creatures. To me as a reader, this reads as though this is the result of the events. So like the inflation is the result of the events. And then finally, so what happened after that? Let's look at, I'm going to show you. Let me find the slideshow here. It's not that one. Here it is. Share this slide with you. Can you see that? So this is very likely the Revelation 12, 3, and 4 sign, which I've gone into depth on this in the video that's pinned to the channel, the first one that plays when you first visit Two Witnesses Live. Let me read Revelation 12, 3, and 4 to you. All right, so we all know about the this sign, right? This is the sign that happened on September 23rd, 2017. We've already gone through and established how this only happens perfectly on this day. All the other occurrences of this have an issue. Now notice that in over here you've got the serpent, which is before the woman. And this just happens to be in the path that the sun takes. So let me read to you Revelation 12, 1 and 2. Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. So that happened right here. This establishes the anchor that we're in the end times. And then another wonder appeared in heaven. So now we're in Revelation 12, 3. And it says, and another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 diadems on his head. His tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. Now, I'm going to tell you the reason why I'm showing this to you. So there are seven planets that are visible from Earth. So like we're here, this is Earth, and you've got Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune are all visible. Are 6 of these are visible from Earth with the naked eye. Uranus, is it Uranus or Neptune? It's Uranus that's not. It's only visible during a very small sliver, I believe. Neptune, you need actually a at least some magnification in order to see it. But these are all planets that have an orbit, and I think that they inform us is to sign. They inform us about signs, and not to get too deep into this, they seem to align with the churches. See, that's why I have the church names up here. There's so much depth in this. You should watch one of the videos that I've done on this because there's a lot of depth, but I don't want to go too deep into this. I just want to share this point that, so remember how I said seal number 3 was opened on June 10th, 2021. So after that union of the United States and the United Kingdom, a year and 5 days later, this sign happened. And you have all 7 planets in a line here. So you've got the 3 planets at the head of Cetus. Now, here's the thing about this dragon. Another sign appeared in heaven. In order for it to be a sign that appears, it can't be visible at other times, which rules out Draco. So many people say that Draco is the dragon in heaven. That's a constellation that never has any stars or sun, moon, or stars that go through it. The only constellation that can be considered a dragon that is in the path of the sun, moon, and stars is Cetus. And I think you'll agree with me here when you see how this lines up. So all of these 7 planets move. They're not always here. But on this particular day, you had 3 planets, which represent basically the good churches. So you have Ephesus, which is told to return to their first love. Ephesus is told to return to their first love. Smyrna is one of the churches that has nothing to repent from. And Philadelphia is another one of the churches that has nothing to repent from. They all happen to be at the head of the serpent. And they also happen to be in Taurus, making up the 7 heads, the 10 horns, and the 7 diadems. That's just referring to the same thing that in the Revelation 12 sign, the crown of 12 stars. So something comparable is happened on this particular day. But what's really the most interesting is that you have 3 of the stars in its tail, in the section of the sky that represents its tail. So when it said his tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth, and the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth to devour her child as soon as it was born, she bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and his throne. My point being is this very likely is the day that this happened. I believe this represents something that happened spiritually, because this happened a year after seal number 3, and a year is it a year? It might be a year, and so a year and 4 months before the Aloxa flood. So we all know that. Let's go back to Revelation 6. So the Aloxa flood happened on October 7th, right? So let's read about seal number 4 here. When he opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th living creature saying, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and the name of him who sat on it was Death. And Hades followed with him, and power was given to them over a fourth of the earth to kill with sword, with hunger, with death, and by the beasts of the earth. You don't see this in the news very often, but you hear Trump talk about it. He just wants the killing to stop. I think, what was it they said? That's like 7,000 people are dying. I can't remember if it's a month or a day, but suffice it to say that people are dying like crazy. Just because you're not experiencing death and hunger doesn't mean it's not happening. It's a huge problem right now in the world. I mean, like, even in Gaza, people are starving to death, even though and they're sending millions of pounds of food over there because Hamas is hijacking the food and using it to make money rather than allowing people to access it. So this is happening. These things are happening. But my point in showing you that sign is I think that it's indicative of something spiritual that happened, because the dragon was cast to earth. Now let's continue reading in Revelation 12 again. Revelation 12. I'm going to start again. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his heads. His tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. I know people have always assumed that this meant a third of the angels in heaven. That's what I was taught growing up. But when I saw this sign happen on June 15th, 2022, and I realized that it was comparable to the woman who was in pain to be delivered, that it was just referring to an alignment of the stars, marking a day, marking something that had happened. So a year before this sign happened, you had the United States and the United Kingdom joined together on 8 different categories. And then this sign happened. And then a year after that, you had the Aloxa flood. So there was some kind of spiritual shift that allowed an attack on the woman, Israel. So, and the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth to devour her child as soon as it was born, obviously referring to the Messiah. Everybody's looking for the Messiah right now. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up to God and his throne. I don't know if that's happened yet, or if this is referring to Yeshua. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God that they should feed her there 1,260 days. I believe that 1,260 days started during the Trump administration, because if you continue reading, actually, we'll just continue reading this. And war broke out in heaven. So what this is in verse 7, I believe this is, there's a literary technique in scripture called summary and expansion, to where you want to give a summary of things, and then you want to go back and give details on the things that you summarized. So the first part of Revelation 12 is showing you the signs to look for. And then the second half of Revelation 12 is giving you further details of what happened during those signs, during the events. So this is what happened in heaven. And war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought with the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought, but they did not prevail, nor was a place found for them in heaven any longer. So the great dragon was cast out, the serpent of old called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast to the earth, and his angels cast out with him. Then I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ have come. For the accuser of our brethren, who accused them before our God day and night, has been cast down. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they did not love their lives to death. Therefore rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and the sea, for the devil has come down to you, having great wrath because he knows he has a short time. So I believe he came down on June 15th, 2022. If indeed the devil is an angel, I'm skeptical on if that's the case. I'm still trying to sort out if this is just heavenly signs or whatnot, because there's just so many variables and details to keep straight in this. Well, let's just assume that this is true. For the devil has come down to you having great wrath because he knows that he has a short time. So it's interesting. This sign happened a year before a year and 4 months before the Alexa flood. Now, when the dragon saw that he had been cast to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle. See, this is why I wonder if that 1,260 days didn't start with the Trump administration. Eagle is often associated with the United States, right? And 1,260 days fits nicely in a presidential term. A presidential term is 1,400 and some change. So it fits within there. But the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness to her place where she is nourished for a time, and half a time, which, if you're not aware, that's another way of saying 3.5 years. A time is 1 year, times is 2 years, and then a half of time. So you have 2 years plus 1 year plus a half a year, 3.5 years. From the presence of the serpent, where she is nourished for a time, and a half of times from the presence of the serpent. Israel has come out, so Benjamin Netanyahu has come out and said that America, specifically Donald Trump, is the greatest friend to Israel. I wonder if this isn't what's happening right now. If we're not, this seems to line up with that time and a half of time, with that time that Israel's being nourished from the presence of the serpent. So the serpent spewed water out of his mouth like a flood after the woman, probably the Alexa flood, that he might cause her to be carried away by a flood, probably the Alexa flood. But the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of its mouth. It has been reported that that the attack on Israel was supposed to be significantly larger. All of Israel's enemies were supposed to attack Israel, but something had happened that caused it to happen earlier. And as a result, all of the enemies of Israel are being defeated now. So, but the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the flood which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to make war with the rest of her offspring. I think that's what's coming next, who keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Christ. So it's not only keeping the commandments, it's also the testimony of Christ. And that's the thing that is unique to the 7 churches in Revelation 2 and 3, is they all have the testimony of Christ. Here, we'll get into that too another day. I don't want this video to go too darn long. Anyway, so I find it interesting that with what Donald Trump is doing and making peace, I doubt it's going to hold. You know what I mean? All right, let me come back over here. There you go. All righty. Anyway. That's what I was thinking about today with that Revelation 12, 3 and 4 sign. I haven't spent a whole lot of time talking about that. It is in my presentations on the whole timeline, but I was just thinking about how it's interesting that that happened a year and 4 months before the Aloxa flood. So it's basically showing us, so the physical, what we see physical seems to be indicative of what's happening spiritually. Yeah. So there we are. That's that stuff. Let's move on to Elon Musk, and then we'll talk about the red heifers. All right, Sal, give us your update on Elon Musk.
So, picking up where we left off, here's the latest on Elon Musk's activity on X from 5 p.m. PDT yesterday to 5 p.m. PDT today, August 17th, 2025, for your listeners. As I mentioned, Elon posted 17 times in that window, and it's a classic mix of his visionary tech talk, spicy political takes, and a sprinkle of meme-fueled humor. Let's break it down a bit further to give you the pulse of what's driving him. On the AI front, Elon's clearly fired up about XAI's Grok Imagine. That video he reposted of the Industrial Revolution, grimy ships, clanking trains, and smokestacks shows he's pushing for vivid, creative outputs from AI. It's like he's saying, look, this tech can paint history with a pulse. His response to user feedback, like agreeing to API credits for Grok Heavy or a $20 tier, feels like a nod to accessibility, making sure more folks can tap into AI without breaking the bank. When someone praised his marketing, he just dropped a sly one, which, let's be honest, is Elon enjoying the spotlight. Tesla's autonomous driving got some love too. Elon's clapback at the ex-Waymo CEO was sharp. You let me know when I can buy a Waymo. And it's clear he's betting big on Tesla's robotaxi outpacing competitors. That prediction about skeptics flipping from fake to unfairly good? It's bold, but it's Elon staking his claim on full self-driving's future. He's all in, and that user story about converting Tesla doubters after one FSD ride, he hearted it, shows he knows real-world results speak loud. The SpaceX reflection hit a deeper note. That 2006 photo of him sifting through Falcon 1's wreckage, it was a tough start, feels like a rare glimpse into Elon's grit. It's a reminder, clear as day, that his empire started with failures, not fanfare. You can almost hear the resolve in his voice, tying back to the biblical idea of perseverance, like Nehemiah rebuilding Jerusalem's walls despite the rubble. Now, the political posts, they're where Elon's stirring the pot. His "what?" reaction to that extreme anti-white quote was visceral, like he's calling out insanity when he sees it. Backing Senator Mike Lee's push for paper ballots and voter ID with a yes shows he's doubling down on election integrity, a topic that's got folks divided but hits at truth-seeking, much like the prophets demanding justice. The why on Minnesota and Maine's supposed targeting tied to high IQ scores? That's Elon probing deeper, questioning narratives, something we do well to emulate when sifting through today's noise. And the fun stuff? Oh, he's still got it. That Michael Jackson anime girl moonwalking video on a starry ocean, pure Elon, blending AI creativity with a wink at pop culture. The Achilles Diomedes meme and the OpenAI throwback with Ilya, they show he's not above a good laugh or a subtle jab at rivals. So, what's the takeaway? Elon's out there building, challenging, and poking at the status quo, whether it's AI, cars, or politics. It's like Ecclesiastes 3, there's a time to build, a time to tear down, and he's doing both. Keep an eye on him, folks. He's not just shaping tech, but sparking conversations we all need to wrestle with. If you want me to dig into any of these posts further or check what's next, just say the word.
He continues to torment people. I mean, like even today, even today I was getting flipped off. I thought somebody was going to scratch our car. They were so angry. People for I don't know what it is. It's like just because I do know what it is. I don't know why I said that. I do know what it is the two witnesses are torment the whole world, and he clearly torments people. Um, if you have a Tesla, you'd see that. It's so interesting. Do you remember when he was talking about? Let me see if I can find that video here for you guys. When he was talking about why people are attacking his dealerships. Where is it? Is it this one? I think it was this. I think this might be it. I could be wrong.
Did what needed to be done. The violent antibody reaction, and I'm not someone who's ever committed violence, and yet massive violence was committed against my companies. Massive violence was threatened against me. Who are these people? Why would they do that? How wrong can they be? They're on the wrong side of history, and that's an evil thing to do. To go and damage some poor innocent person's car, to threaten to kill me. What's wrong with these people? I've not harmed anyone, so something needs to be done about them. And a number of them are going to prison, and they deserve it. And more will.
You're referring to the attacks on Tesla showrooms, but I think
Firing bullets into showrooms and burning down cars is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Those people will go to prison, and the people that funded them and organized them will also go to prison. Don't worry.
But wouldn't you?
We're coming for you.
The dude torments people. I didn't realize that he said that they were threatening his life in that interview, but that's one of the things that it's like it was really obvious with Donald Trump, because there were 5 assassinations. There were 2 close calls and 3 thwarted assassination attempts, and who knows how many other assassination attempts with Donald Trump. But Elon Musk, here he in this interview talks about the death threats against his life. Dude's tormenting people. All right, let's move on to the Red Heifer update. So if you remember this video, I shared this probably last week sometime. When was this? This was 4 days ago. Yeah. 4 days ago, this announcement was made.
It's here. And
I don't know. I think I'm going to trust Jesus on this one, but it's a good pitch, I suppose.
Jesus would have definitely wanted 1.5 gallons. That
Oh yeah, people are gonna be like, see, this works.
Oh shoot!
It's gonna suck because
await a time that the Messiah brings called the Techiyat Metim.
Darn it!
And I actually
story behind the ramps at bodegas, and it's just like a terrible concrete
interesting.
job.
What should be private industry?
It says $28,997,400 in taxpayer money. What I'm curious about.
Look, it does work. They get the photo up.
Yep.
And
what's wrong with the D train, man?
Well, story behind the ramps but honestly, like even the DC area is pretty pricey as well. So it's I haven't gotten full like redemption. I think you need to keep heading south to really just experience what a normal rent price should be.
It's intentional.
Yeah.
To drive the rents up is very simple. All you have to do is make building complicated and very restrictive.
Yeah.
And then population growth is just going to, by default.
Well, and you're competing, and I hate to go back to it, but it really is a pressing issue. I mean, like Queens.
That, and so a pure red heifer doesn't come about all the time. And in this generation, we had 21 of them that were born. Pure. They picked 7 to bring to Israel. And out of the 7, Israel only allowed them to have 5 brought in. And they've been sitting around just doing nothing because the media outrage has been so astronomical about it. But the red heifer people, they fooled everybody. And they successfully performed the ritual about a month ago. Now, in the ritual, you're supposed to have hyssop. I have also hyssop that is from the actual ritual. And also the red heifer ashes, and these get put into a clay jar and then sprinkled on people in a healing ritual, and it removes the impurity of death and allows for people to heal. So since this started, they have been sprinkling on people. There was a man with Alzheimer's who just started remembering everything, sight to the blind, there's some real miracles that have happened in the last month since this thing has gone down. But the ashes, just like I have a little bag, there was 10.5 gallons of ashes. And this is only a dime bag full. And these ashes have been disseminated. They're here to stay. They will never be found. So many people have them. And this little bag can power about 10,000 doses.
Power about that makes it sound like really potent cocaine.
It packs a punch. Yeah.
This is the stuff right here.
Test
man.
it for fent.
This is the. But we could go smoke this after the show. But no, I'm just kidding. Come back from the dead after you do something like that. But I have a video from the ritual, and if you want to play it, I don't know if you. It has copyrighted music. Can you slide it so people could see the slide?
Yeah, I've been doing that.
So these are the slides of the actual ceremony being taken place, and that's tikva, and everything was done specifically according to halacha, which is Jewish law.
Mm-hmm.
It was a perfect cow, and meaning that it doesn't have a single hair that is not red. And also, it could never have been burdened with work. So you can't even lean a shovel up against the cow. They have to be treated in a very specific way for their whole life. And then the person who does the ritual can never have been in contact with death.
All right. So I'll put the link to this video if you want to watch the full thing. We played this 4 days ago. There's been an update, and you're going to want to hear this. It's kind of long. But this is from Adam Berkowitz, who is a reporter with Israel 365. He's been very close to this. He was one of the ones who came out and said initially that they had disqualified several of the heifers. And now he's coming out and giving additional updates specifically in regards to apparently misinformation that people who are at this ritual have been who aren't fully aware of all the details, who have been well, I'll just let him tell you. This is about 25 minutes, so we'll just sit here and we'll go through and listen, and I'll comment where it makes sense to comment.
So I put off making this video until I was absolutely sure of my facts and until I had all, if not most of the facts in my hand. The thing is, a lot of fake news and misinformation has been going out on the internet about the red heifers. And I have to speak up and set the record straight. There are a lot of people who care deeply about it, and there are a lot of people who just want to make a splash and make an impression and get views, and that's a problem. Maybe, yep. I'm sorry, maybe they have good intentions, but they've been spreading misinformation. So this is the real story.
Yeah, so I did play that video, and the reason I'm bringing this to you now is because I don't want to be spreading misinformation. So I want you guys. I know this is a roller coaster. I don't blame you for being frustrated about what's happening. And one day we hear they're disqualified. Next day we hear they're not disqualified. One day we hear that they did the ritual. Another day we hear that it was a fake ritual. Now we heard that it was the real ritual, and people have the ashes. And now this. So I know it's a roller coaster, but this is how we figure out, what the truth is we don't just give up and say, I'm declaring XYZ to be the truth. We as tiring and exhausting as it is, we constantly listen. Those who have eyes to see and ears to hear will hear. So apparently I'll just let him say it.
Was a practice run on July 1st, when one of the 5 red heifers that was brought from Texas to Israel was burned. It was one that was ruled to be unsuited. We'll say unkosher. It was not unkosher for eating, it was unkosher for the red heifer ritual. It was ruled to be unsuited because it had more than 2 black hairs. So on July 1st, it was slaughtered and burned on a platform, a wooden platform. The platform was entirely suited. This was a practice run to practice and work out the details, because it's a very complicated mitzvah that hasn't been done in 2,000 years. So they built the platform to be correct for the...
I'm more inclined to believe him because he's an actual investigative reporter versus somebody who just received some ashes.
Purposes of the mitzvah of creating the ashes.
And let me be clear, I don't know if the guy on Tim Pool was at the ceremony. I think I've referred to him being at the ceremony because I was under the impression that he was. I don't know for sure. But Berkowitz here is a reporter for Israel 365. It's his job to investigate this information and talk to the people who are actually in the know.
That would be used to purify Israel. So on July 1st, that practice run was carried out. The cow, again, was not suited for the mitzvah. So even from the outset, there was no intention to produce ashes that would be used to purify people. That was not the intention. And the ashes were indeed not suited. Of course, anyone who has seen videos or the images of that practice run are aware that it was not done on the Mount of Olives. And the only place that the ceremony of the red heifer can be carried out is at a specific spot on the Mount of Olives, on Har Zeitim. It was, in fact, the practice burning was carried out in Shomron, in Samaria. It was carried out on a kosher, suited, proper platform, wooden platform. And the Kohen who carried it out was a pure, I want to emphasize, which is quite exciting, a pure and suited Kohen. For people who are unfamiliar with Jewish traditions, Jews have always been very scrupulous about protecting the tradition of who is a Kohen. So it is not unusual to find a Kohen. Every community has Kohanim, and we know who they are. And if you are not from a family that has a tradition of being a Kohen, then you are absolutely not a Kohen and cannot become a Kohen. So that being said, the Kohen was not only a true Kohen, but he had also had all the requirements to be considered as pure as possible. Meaning he was not born in a hospital, he was home birth, had never left Israel, had never gone into a cemetery, and had never come into proximity to a dead body. So he was ritually pure and suited to carry out the real red heifer ceremony. So he was chosen to carry out the practice run. I want to emphasize that. Also, someone said it was done in that way to fool the government. The government is not involved in this at all. The practice run was not done to fool anyone. Okay? That's not the way this is done. And that is just a horrible lie. It was done to practice and learn and work out details. And an awful lot was learned. This is not the first practice run that was carried out. It was the first practice run that was carried out on an actual red heifer, albeit one that was unsuited for the mitzvah, one that had too many black hairs. There was a practice run done by Professor Zohar Amar. It was done, I want to be very careful. It was done, It was done by Professor Zohar Amar.
This is one of the problems with the internet is you don't know who to believe. Right? I mean, I don't know if what he's saying is true. I don't know if the guy on Timcast is telling the truth. The best I can do is present the evidence for us to be aware of, so that we don't make claims that may or may not be true. I won't be saying that the ceremony has taken place. I'm still of the opinion that the temple doesn't have to be built, because I believe that the body of Christ is the temple of God.
In 2019, and an awful lot was learned in that. And also in this practice burning, an awful lot was learned. So these are important, these practice runs, but they are not the actual ritual, and they do not produce ashes that can be used for the purposes of purifying Jews. The one that was used in the practice run had been inspected and certified as not being suited. Okay. There, I do need to make a correction. The Temple Institute released an announcement I wrote about it in August 6th. So it was around about that time, let me be precise, on Twitter. It was on August 5th. I got it the day after. And they wrote, and I quote, so far we have been frustrated by the appearance of more than one non-red hair on all our potential candidates. That seems to mean that none of the red heifers that are remaining, of the 4 that are remaining, were kosher. None of them, that seems to say that none of them are kosher, and that's what I wrote. I have since been corrected, and I love being corrected. I love finding out, oh, you were wrong. Now you have an opportunity to be right. There are 2 of the red heifers in Shiloh that are deemed to be most probably unsuited. They have far too many non-red hairs to be considered as viable candidates. There are, however, 2 remaining red heifers that are potentially viable. So there is still hopes and possibility that 2 of the red heifers in Shiloh will be deemed proper for a real red heifer ritual to produce ashes, to purify Israel. There are still 2 candidates, possible candidates, and there are 2 that are not. So that needs to be corrected. They are not all unkosher or unsuited. Okay. Also, the government is not part of the process. It's very important to emphasize. This is entirely in the hands of the Temple Institute. They are the final authority on this. And under the auspices of Rav Azaria Ariel. I'm pursuing a connection with the Sanhedrin to find out if the Sanhedrin is going to be involved in this process, because it's at the point where we need a central authority. This is my opinion. I'm adding my opinion, which is there was so much misinformation and so much confusion about this. I think there needs to be a central authority, as there was in the time of the temple. Most people don't realize, but the Sanhedrin actually was located in the walls of the temple. It was half inside the temple and half outside. The reason being that halacha, Jewish law, connects holy and mundane. We guide our lives according to the light that comes out from the temple. So I personally feel, and this is Eliyahu Berkowitz, please do not say that any organization has announced this. I believe that it is time for a central authority to be established to oversee the process, the processes, many of them, because a lot of things are happening for the temple. So, well, I'll get back to that in a minute. There's also been people with the ashes from this practice run, and they've been displaying them and walking around with them. If they are ashes that are suited to purify people in Israel, then that is a grave sin to be handling them. They may only be handled by a pure Kohen. For a non-Kohen or an impure Kohen to handle the ashes of a red heifer is absolutely a sin of the gravest kind.
See, this is one of the reasons why I probably lean towards this being true, is that makes sense to me. If the sacrifice, or if the burning of the heifer were the real deal, why would they send out so many ashes? Why would they just give the ashes away? It makes more sense that they would give those ashes away if it was a test run.
Okay. There's also been talk that the ashes taken from that practice run are being used to heal people. That's also a grave sin. If they're not kosher, do what you want. They're ashes with no significance. If they're kosher ashes, they can only be used for their sanctified purpose, which is to purify people, purify Jews specifically. If you're using them for any other purpose, in halacha we refer to it as me'ilah, which is an improper use of something that has been sanctified. It's a grievous sin. Grievous. So I hope for those people's sake that when they handle the ashes and when they say that they can be used to heal people, that they are doing that with the complete acknowledgement that those ashes are fake. That those ashes are not ashes of the red heifer. They are ashes of a red cow. Okay, that being said, here comes my personal note. And I go back and I apologize for repeating myself. I am a little bit unorganized, but this has gone on and it's getting so out of control that I had to put out this video. A year and a half ago, for various false reasons, a furor erupted on the internet where people started saying, oh, the Jews are going to prepare the red heifer, and they even said sacrifice, which the red heifer is not a sacrifice. Anyone who says it's a sacrifice, they kind of don't know what they're talking about. They said, the Jews are going to sacrifice the red heifer on Passover. There's so many things wrong with that statement. The reason why they said that is there was going to be a conference, scholarly conference about the red heifer. And every year, before Passover, every synagogue around the world, we read the portion of the Torah dealing with the red heifer. Why do we do that? Because on Passover, we bring the Korban Pesach, the Passover offering, and it's the most important sacrifice of the year. So therefore, we want to be on the highest level of purity as possible. So we review the laws of purity before Passover, including the laws of the red heifer. So there's a tradition to read that every year before Passover. Now, people who heard that, but really were totally ignorant of Torah, totally ignorant of Judaism, said, oh, that means the Jews are going to do the red heifer. No. And I ended up doing videos, which I don't enjoy doing, though I've met a lot of very nice people through it. I ended up doing videos just to stop the lies about it. It causes damage. It's actually creating a wall that's making it so much more difficult to actually bring the third temple. If you don't want the third temple, fine. Well, it's a Jewish thing, so you don't really have a say. And I know from Christian theologians that this whole thing about the third Jewish temple being the temple of the Antichrist is wrong. It's not accurate. My scholarly, learned Christian theologian friends are all very supportive of the red heifer. That being said, there was so many lies that I had to speak up. And it's happening again. And it's happening from the craziest sources. Anyone who says now that that practice run was an actual burning of a red heifer that produced ashes that can purify Jews, I don't want to say lying, but they're telling something that is not true.
Which is a lie. Some of them may not be doing it intentionally. I get his point, but I don't understand. So let me take a step back here. Maybe some of these people received the ashes under the pretense that they were kosher. I have a hard time believing that's the case, though. It seems to me that information would have been very clearly communicated. I don't know. But this guy who went on Tim Pool was very confident in his information. So I don't know. I probably lean towards believing Adam here because Adam, his reputation relies on the information that he gives. And yeah, I'm sure there's, it's been a roller coaster. There's been a lot of speculation on, they're throwing curveballs because they don't want Islam to know when and what they're doing. Maybe not. I don't know. I have a feeling that people giving that information is what's causing the confusion. So I don't know. I tend to believe that what he says is true, that it was a practice run, that the ashes are not kosher, and that the ritual has not taken place. I also agree with him that the temple is not the temple of the Antichrist that the temple is going to go into. If you're new to the channel, I believe that story is a lot of crap. There's this end time narrative which is not biblical. When you actually read the scripture and you study the scripture, you'll find that it's not supported. When you get into the details of it, it sounds great when you conflate stuff together and generalize things because it fits into a nice Hollywood movie, but that's not true. And when you find out that information, you're responsible for if you're telling people that, you're responsible for what you're telling people. I've presented my evidence for where we are. You may not agree with me. I don't care if you agree with me. I don't need you to agree with me. That's not why I do this. The information is out there, and if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, then you'll hear and you'll see. The evidence is pointing to we're in the end times. The evidence is pointing to these events have happened. Here, let's go back over here. Look at this. This is all evidence right here. End time data. Revelation 12 sign. I have presented evidence on why this is so unique. That sign has never happened before. Now, you may disagree that it's referring to an alignment of the sun, moon, and stars. I don't know what to tell you. It says a sign appeared in heaven. When you look up in heaven, you see the sun, moon, and stars. God said he set the sun, moon, and stars for signs, seasons, days, and years. I can't force you to believe these things. I can only present the evidence to you. What you do with it is entirely up to you. But here is the evidence. Let me give you a little bit bigger picture here. Here is the evidence. I'm saying that the Revelation 12 sign happened. This is the sign. It is very unique. There's only one or two that are kind of close, but they are not as perfect as this one. And the events that followed, not only did they align with the four living creatures, the lion, the calf, the face of a man. I mean, like, dude, seriously, you look down at the North Pole and you see the constellation that's the face of a man. And then you read in the scripture, it talks about the face of a man as being one of the living creatures. I mean, come on. And then you have a flying eagle. So the fact that when you look down at the North Pole, you have a lion, a calf, the face of a man, and a flying eagle. And then you have these eclipses that happen. This one happened under Aquila on the day that COVID started happening, going forth, conquering and to conquer. This eclipse happened when Joe Biden was declared, the day he was declared the winner of the president of the election. This was also the day that he received operational control of Operation Warp Speed. And because he had control over it, this was also the day they gave the very first vaccine. He was handed a great sword that was used. People lost their jobs if they refused to get this. This happened on the day of the signing of the New Atlantic Charter. This is the picture they took on that same day. This is the elbow bump. It matches Gemini. That's just, I think, a happy coincidence, but I think it's funny. That's a yoke. This is the sign that happened on October 14th, the Al-Aqsa flood. This is actually, the Al-Aqsa flood was a week before this. This is the sign that happened 7 days later when Israel went back in to get their hostages back. Look at this. You're looking at Revelation. These are the first four seals that were opened. And in the midst of all of these, as a result of all of these seals being opened, inflation has gone through the roof. And you had this sign happen. I have a ton of data. You don't have to believe it. The whole point of this channel is to present it for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. It's entirely up to you. You may believe an entirely different story. You may want to hold to the old narrative that the Great Tribulation is going to apply to the entire world. It's going to be the worst time of suffering ever. And you'll know when it happens because you'll be suffering. Yeah, I tried that. I was under that opinion when I started realizing that we were in the end times. I went and bought 3.5 years worth of food. A lot of it went to waste. I'm done with that. I'm sure there's more bad times coming, but I know that God promises the Church of Philadelphia that they'll be kept from the trials that are coming on the whole world. So I'm not fear-mongering anymore. If I'm honest with myself, constantly looking for the day of the rapture and constantly talking about, prepping and stuff like that, to me, it was just a bunch of fear-mongering. Yeah, bad things are happening around the world. But there's also places where bad things aren't happening. But this is the data. This is the stuff that lines up with what's in the scripture. You can choose to believe it, or you can choose to stick to the story that you think is going to happen. If you're looking for this man to go in, you're looking for this temple to be built and you think some dude's going to go in there and declare himself God, good luck with that. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I find it interesting that they're working on building the temple. Yeah, but I don't think anybody's going to believe if, say Donald Trump went into the temple and declared himself God. Well, he's made it very clear that he does not think he's God. He is subject to his Lord, Jesus Christ. He said that. If you haven't seen that, maybe I'll show the video sometime. I don't have it prepped right now, but he has said that Jesus is above him. He has said that God saved his life on the day that the assassin tried to take his life. So who's going to go into that temple and declare themselves God? There are already people who think a man is their God. That's already happening. I'm working on a video to go through the details on that. But this is the data. The best I can do is present it to you. I don't think it's any coincidence that we have a meteor that's heading towards our planet, which is projected to go within 1,200 miles of the planet right around the time that seal number 6 is going to be opened up. So all we can do is look at what's happened and use that information to watch and pay attention and be careful. Jesus said, for if the good man of the house had known in what hour the thief was going to come, he would have watched. So I don't know what hour the thief's going to come. So I'm watching. And as a result of what I see, I'm sharing that with you guys. So do with it what you will. I could be wrong, but at what point, how many coincidences do we have to put together before it becomes irrefutable? I mean, like a sign that is so perfect on this day, and then events that follow, and that we're literally living during a period of time when Jew and Gentile alike are looking for the Messiah. Maybe we disagree on the details. I don't know, but this is what we have. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. I don't care if y'all think I'm crazy. That doesn't bother me. All righty. So that's where we are. I'm going to leave you there. So that's your torment report and the update on the red heifer. I was hoping that we'd have some more time to. I didn't think that I thought today was going to be a short day. I thought this would only take a half an hour. I had some music I was going to play, but it's already kind of long. So I guess we will see you tomorrow for the torment report. God bless you guys. Shalom, shalom. Keep looking up. Your redemption draws nigh, regardless of, whether you think that we're in this timeline or not. Cool things are happening. Shalom, shalom. God bless you guys.